Hi everyone, welcome back to another stream. It's going to just be me again this week, because Max isn't feeling very well, and Nerdy is at her oldest's birthday tonight. So of course, family comes first. So they will both be back next week, but it will just be me again tonight. So we will give it some time before we get into tonight's discussion. Um, I did go live a couple minutes early, so let me do some admin for a second. Um, let me just letting people know that we're live now. So do bear with me for a moment while I do this. Um, Hi, thanks for joining, whoever you are. Um, Feel free to get involved, in the conversation, in the discussion. Um, love to, hear how your day has been and all of that good stuff. Hope you're well, though. Um, just bear with me 1 minute while I do some admin stuff. Um, right, so let me just wait. Let me just do the link and then just go to um um wait, copy that, do this. Again, apologies for the doing admin. Right, let me what this is the last one I've got to do. So that right. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. But that is done now. So hopefully we should have some people join. Maybe, maybe not. We'll soon see. But yeah, um, welcome back to another live. Um, Please make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever we go live, which is every Tuesday at 7 p.m. UK time. Um, we may sometimes be we may sometimes go live like a couple of minutes early, or we may be slightly late, but we try not to be. We try to be on time. So yeah, you can also follow us on our social media. if you care to. Um, but yeah, let's get straight into the topic of discussion. So, I think first of all, let me see if I can do this. No, I don't want to do that. Um, right, let me see if I can pull up a video file because I want to play you this. I'm gonna go a bit. I'm gonna see if this plays. Um, let me add to.
How does he find this acceptable? Comments like this may not seem a lot true, feel like a bullet. That's from a 31-year-old male survivor of sexual violence in Northampton.
And from a mid-20s female survivor, she thanked me for
How do
making
you
jokes like
respond
this.
to that?
I respond to that by saying, you've been lied to. You are
How do you
misrepresenting what's
respond?
happening.
Right, right. That's clearly not gonna work. So basically, the guy you saw in that video is a YouTuber called Carl Benjamin. A YouTuber turned um, UKIP candidate back in 2019. Now you may be wondering why am I talking about an article on back in 2019? And you have a good point, and I'm going to tell you why. Because what he says to me is very much a relevant topic to talk about. So again, let me up. Right, so the article that I'm about to read is on wearequeeraf.com. I'll also put this in the description as well. So this was on the wait, nope, wrong one. Right, right. So this is on bbc.co.uk. Again, this is in 2019, but this is still relevant and current, given the mass fucking politicization and fear mongering that's going on, specifically with trans people. It's got nothing to do with trans people, but it's still relevant. So, a YouTuber turned a UKIP candidate who said he wouldn't even rape a female Labour MP, has refused to apologise. Also, not only is he a YouTuber, if I quickly go to my Instagram, um, for a second, Let me. He is also an anti-feminist and far-right YouTuber, who, said he wouldn't even rape basically a colleague of his. Members of UKIP's Swindon branch said Mr. Benjamin had only joined the local party recently and he should be deselected. At a news conference in London, Mr. Benjamin accused media outlets of smearing him. "I'm not going to apologise for my crimes against political correctness. I hate political correctness." Well, we can see that. See that. Um, he his use of Twitter in 2016 hit the headlines when he responded to Labour MP Jess Phillips' concerns over threats of sexual assault by saying, "I wouldn't even rape you. Feminism is cancer." This is him. This is him. Bringing out his anti-feminist, garbage. Um, UKIP Swindon wants absolutely nothing to do with Carl Benjamin or his websites, he said. And that was Swindon branch chairman Aubrey Atwater. Um, so that's what he said about a colleague. Now, if I go back to Carl, BB's um, what news? Um, Now, I'm gonna go on now. In that video that I tried to play that didn't go very well. I mean, I suppose I could try again. Let me try again so you can actually hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and hopefully, um, no, that's not how you do that. Right. So instead of me reading the article, you can actually hear himself. Um, so hopefully, a share will work. Um, right. So let me share. Share screen. Yes. Will it pop up and allow me to share, or will it basically um, let me try again. Right, just bear with me for a second. Um, my like uh, right, let me see if it will play another video file. Perhaps it will play the edited one. Right, so
How does he find this acceptable? Comments like this may not seem a lot to a bloke like him, but to me, jokes about what I went through feel like a bullet. That's from a 31-year-old male survivor of sexual violence in Northampton.
And from a mid-20s female survivor, she thanked me for
How do
making
you
jokes like
respond
this.
to that?
I respond to that by
no, it's not gonna happen. No, not gonna happen. I'm just gonna read you the article, and then I'll link you to the video so you can hear what he says. So this is in the same year, 2019. UKIP's Carl Benjamin has heard reaction from abuse survivors to his rape comments about Labour MP Jess Phillips in 2016. Police say they are investigating the tweet he wrote, saying I wouldn't even rape you. He added to the comments in a recent video saying with enough pressure I might cave. Carl Benjamin is UKIP's candidate for South West England. So basically, again, I will link you to the video on bbc.co.uk so you can watch it for yourself. But basically, he tried to play it off as a joke. Um, and he also said in the very same year, and again, I've got, let me go to, yeah, and he also said that he says it's okay to rape young boys in sick YouTube land. So you can pretty much, safely say that he is a real piece of shit. And I'm not gonna talk about his personal life or talk about his, or bring up any of his, um, because he's a parent, and I'm not gonna right, so I'm not gonna go there. But he's anti-feminist, and he's far right. That just says it all, really. Um, you say see if you can hear this. Right, so let me stop it.
How does he find this acceptable? Comments like this may not seem a lot to a bloke like him, but to me, jokes about what I went through feel like a bullet. That's from a 31-year-old male survivor of sexual violence in Northampton.
And from a mid-20s female survivor.
How do you respond to that?
I respond to that by saying you've been lied to. You are
How do you
misrepresenting what's
respond?
happening.
This
You
man,
are
what?
misrepresenting what.
It's not the glare is too much. So yeah, let me just plug in my headphones again. So yeah, even then he tried to, be a little bit manipulative, you know, in saying that you don't have the correct information. Then he knows exactly what he said, right? But once again, he's trying to weasel his way out of it, which hasn't worked. Now again, you know, there are now. I've tried to find any recent updates, but I couldn't find any. Um, but yeah, that's called Benjamin. Again, I will put a link down to the video in the description box below, for you to check out. Um, or I'll actually pin it in the comments in a comment. Um, after after I've finished this live. So yeah, and I found it absolutely disgusting, you know. But I guess that's the climate we are in. Unfortunately, we get these assholes that want to become MPs, and he was going to be. I think he was going to be a part of UKIP as well. UKIP reform, whatever. Um, so yeah, that's that on that. Pretty much. I mean, there's not a lot to go on per se. Um, yeah, it's like there's nothing much to go on. Basically, I thought I'd bring it to I thought I would bring it up. You you might have heard of him. You might have heard of his YouTube channel. I'll be honest. This is the first time I've heard about him, and if you want my 2 cents, he is just like every other germ, i.e., turf, I've encountered. He's he's just another one of the same that regurgitates anti-feministic, anti-feminism bullshit, you know, trap, or because he's trapped in like the 1600s, you know, way of thinking. But yeah, that's that. Um, that's that on Carl Benjamin. I hope to never actually, hear about him again. But as it has, as it is the case with quite a few people we've covered, they just can't help them. They just can't help themselves be a dick, be an absolute dick. You know, thinking that everything that they say falls within free speech, which I've said it before and I'll say it again. You are entitled to say what you want. You know, me, right? I won't. I'm not gonna. Right, I don't. I never speak on behalf of Max or Nerdy, but I'm gonna do it just this once. I will speak on behalf, of myself, Max, and Nerdy. We don't give a fuck what you say. Again, it's called free speech. Free speech applies to everyone, regardless of the absolute bullshit you spew. You are entitled to do that as per free speech. However, you are not free. You are not free from consequences. So, when someone corrects you, which I'm using my free speech to tell you you are wrong, right? Because that's how it goes, you know. But that's not how they play the game. They want to use their free speech by compelling your free speech, but as soon as you correct them, or sometimes in a very blunt way, call them out on their bullshit, that's when they try and use tactics like gaslighting and manipulation by turning everything onto you. You know, for example, they will try, just like a manipulator and abuser would. Not that I'm inferring or whatever infer germs or abusers right, because I wouldn't, right. They basically use the same tactics as a manipulator would, by twisting your words. So that's what Carl Benjamin is. He's just another man, who probably didn't have, who probably, I mean, let me go and see. Like, is he even, you know, do, like, is he even well known? He he's well known. Well, yeah, he does have a massive platform on YouTube, but they're not. But 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 hey ho, until today I never heard of him. Well, until 2 days ago, should I say. But yeah, that's enough on Carl Benjamin. Um, right, this next one is, oh yeah, we will do the Puerto Rico um, next. Well, last. Right, this next one is the article is on wearequeeraf.com, and this is an article done on June 19th, by Jamie Wareham, um, all about the rebranded Section 28. Now, if none of you know what Section 28 is, I have absolutely no fucking idea how you couldn't. But but if you need a refresher, um, I will give you that now. Right. So, for those of you who don't know what a Section 28 is, or if you were born at a later date, then Section 28 of the Government Act 1988 was a UK law that prohibited local authorities from promoting homosexuality by teaching or publishing material. It also forbade the promotion of the acceptability of homosexuality as a pretended family relationship. The law was met with significant opposition from LGBTQ plus groups and was eventually repealed in Scotland in 2000 and in England and Wales in 2003. So, for context, I was 16 years I was 16, 16 and a half at a push when it got repealed in 2003. Um, Section 28 specifically targeted local authorities, preventing them from using public funds to promote homosexuality. This included not only educational materials, but also any other form of promotion, such as publications. The law was widely criticized for its discriminatory nature and its potential to stifle open discussions about LGBTQ plus issues, particularly in schools. Critics argued it created a climate of fear and self-censorship, hindering the development of inclusive education and support systems for LGBTQ plus individuals. The It led to a chilling effect on LGBTQ plus visibility and education, with teachers and local authorities often self-censoring to avoid potential legal challenges. This had a profound impact on the mental health and well-being of LGBTQ plus individuals who felt isolated and unsupported by the state. Now, that's just a little refresher on Section 28 if you didn't know what that was or what it meant. Um, if you recognize any of that, and this was basically brought in because of good old Maggie Thatcher, former Prime Minister of UK. Um, so yeah, if any of that, you know, presses any of your, senses, um, and if you know of any germs, i.e. turfs, specifically the ones who are gay, who this would have affected their lives, by the way, most notably, um, you know, the one from Gimme Gimme Gimme, and others who parrot basically a rebranded version of Section 28. You know, you only have to pay attention to what they say. So basically, that was Section 28. Now let's go to the rebrand. Section 28 2.0. New transphobic curriculum restricts teachers from encouraging trans plus pupils to understand their identity. Ring any bells? That's exactly what Section 28 did towards the gay community. Parallels, if you've been watching us for a while, you know that I've mentioned history more than once. History has a knack of repeating itself, and for a very good reason. So anyway, I'll continue. Um, New statutory relationships and sex education guidance from the Labour government for England has been dubbed Section 28 2.0 because it restricts schools from using materials that encourage pupils to question their gender, as well as putting pressure on teachers to avoid teaching about parts of trans plus lives. It also makes it compulsory to teach children the laws about biological sex and adopts a number of other gender critical perspectives. So basically, in layman's terms, just to break it down, um, they want to get rid of normal, everyday, education that is vital. Because newsflash, not only are there gay kids in school, but there are also trans kids in school as well. I thought I'd just throw that out there. So they want to take away vital education, right, for that, but they want to push their gender critical perspectives. That makes absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever. But anyway, I'll continue. New relationship and sex education (RSE) guidance for England has taken a trans exclusionary approach and received widespread condemnation from the LGBTQIA+ community. Many are comparing the impact it will have to the damaging Section 28 law, which banned the promotion of gay identities until 2003, which we rightly so, you know, um, because it will. The new statutory guidance comes into effect in September 2026, and though it sets out the curriculum for different age ranges, its LGBT section applies to all ages in it. Teachers are told they must teach about biological sex, but it puts a great deal of restriction on how schools can talk about the transgender community and trans plus people's experience. Well, of course, it puts a great deal of restriction because they don't want kids to learn to discuss it. Like it sets out how teachers must not use materials that encourage people to question their gender, and tells teachers that there is a significant debate about trans people. First of all, they used the same veiled language towards the gay community. Just again throwing that one out there as well. You know, trans people aren't a debate. Just like gay people aren't a debate. Their validity and existence are real. The same way straight people aren't a debate. You know, trans people aren't up for a debate. They are real people who just happen to have a different experience, of womanhood, manhood. That's it. You know, they are who they say they are. You know, trans women are women, trans men are men. That's it. It's as simple as fucking simple can be, right? But I guess, me saying that, I guess according to germs, turfs, I'm the one that is indoctrinated. Okay. Um, Gendered Intelligence, the UK's leading trans plus youth charity, called the guidance exclusive because it puts the pressure on schools to be less supportive of trans pupils, and in turn puts pressure on teachers to avoid teaching about trans lives, even though it doesn't ban it outright. No, it doesn't ban it outright, but basically, if a teacher goes against it, not only does that teacher get in trouble, more than likely they will probably lose their job. Right? It's like, you know, haven't the teachers got enough on their plate? Like, but obviously not. It can so it states that schools must avoid using material that encourages pupils to question their gender and adopts a number of other gender critical perspectives into the curriculum. Specifically, it tells schools not to teach that everyone has a gender identity. Well, everyone does. Gender identity is intrinsic. Identity is different from gender. It's not that fucking hard or complicated. It's like it, and that they must avoid saying social transition is a simple solution to feelings of distress or discomfort. Well, first of all, social transition is just one form. That's just one form, you know. So, and is it a simple solution? Maybe. It depends on who you ask. because everybody's individual. But again, social transition is just one form on the scale, on the journey. The guidance also sets out that schools should teach what laws apply to the gender critical dog whistle biological sex, a term which still doesn't have specific which still doesn't have a specific legal definition, despite it being the basis of this year's ruling from the Supreme Court on the definition of woman in the Equality Act 2010, which again, it wasn't a win. Meanwhile, all references to transgender people instead refer to gender questioning people. Again, they know what gender they are. Then again, let me break it down for you in simple terms. Right, their assigned sex at birth. Right, I'll give you this example again. Let's say your assigned sex at birth was male. Right, if your gender male matches your assigned sex at birth, then you are male. Right. However, again, using the same example, if your assigned sex at birth was male and your gender was female, that is called a disconnect, i.e. a mismatch, i.e. a mismatch called gender dysphoria. Right? That's a fairly basic example, right? But again, this isn't hard. The reason why germs, i.e., turfs, find this so difficult to understand is because they are stupid, and they're the ones who are brainwashed. I say it how it is. If you don't like my tone, right, or any of that, then that's not my problem, right? It's just certain people within a certain community, i.e., the turf community, are a little bit are a little bit stupid. So anyway, all references to transgender people instead refer to gender questioning people or the protected characteristic of gender reassignment. The word transgender is only used in the title of the LGBT section and is not found anywhere else in the documents. Again, trying to, you know, move them out. The curriculum has been welcomed by some for its guidance on teaching about misogyny, deepfakes, artificial intelligence, how pornography can negatively influence sexual attitudes, the harms of vaping and consent. But it is light on detail on many of these topics. Queer AF audience development producer and sex educator Dee Whitnall says the lack of training provided the teachers who deliver the lessons who may not understand the world of AI, deep fakes, and incel culture may impact the delivery of these crucial topics. The guidance also, for the first time, sets out that HIV and STI prevention tools go beyond just condoms, including references to PrEP. However, it does so while using out-of-date language about HIV transmission and incorrectly refers to AIDS, SIC, rather than AIDS, an abbreviation of Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome. So basically, again, I will put the link down in the description in in the pinned comment. Um, with all that being said, this is just repackaged, regurgitated, homophobia. But instead of homophobia and attacking the gay community, they're now attacking the trans community using the same playbook. And this is why a lot of us in the community are rightly pissed. Because once again, you're trying to remove human beings from living their life. You know, all because you might might have had a run-in with a trans person who you can't even tell the difference between a trans woman, but a woman who's had a different experience of being a woman, and a man who's had a different experience of being a man. Right? You can't even tell the difference. Not to mention, and I've said this before, without a doubt, you whether you will have interacted with a trans person at any point throughout your day. Whether you go to your favorite coffee shop, for your morning coffee or for your lunch break, right? You will interact with a trans person every day, and you wouldn't even know, and you wouldn't even be able to tell, right? And why would you? You know, you should be consumed by your schedule. You should be caring about what you're doing. But no, our government, the US government, and many other governments around the world who perpetuate and regurgitate the same nonsense in their media. They want to perpetuate, trans people, trans children don't exist, or trans kids aren't really trans, and all of that. It's like, no, kids know. They might not have the language, right? But they know. Kids know, they're gay, right? Again, they might not have the language to come out, but they know, again, it goes to gender identity. It's intrinsic. You know when you're straight, you know when you're bi, you know when you're gay, you know when you're non-binary, right? Again, we're all different. If every single person on the planet was straight, right? Just think about it. If every person on the planet was heterosexual, there was no deviation, right? Every person on the planet was straight. One, the world would be boring. Two, there would be a lot of deaths. I'm assuming, because we apparently have a yearning to kill people. You know, you know, the world would be boring, right? But the world isn't boring because we have different sexualities, right? But no, our government doesn't want that because they don't like it, you know. But fuck them. So, so that's that on that. I'm sure. I'm sure we will revisit some of this next week when Nerdy and Max are back to hear their thoughts on it. Instead of hearing mine. But yeah, and this next one, well, last one is um. hmm, So this is on Pink News. Puerto Rico slammed for banning trans healthcare for under 21s in inverted commas, cruel and inhumane. So the U.S. the U.S. Territory's Governor Jennifer Gonzalez Colon signed a bill prohibiting hormone therapy and sexual reassignment surgeries which are not performed. Again, I'll say that again. Which hormone therapy and sexual reassignment surgeries which are not, capital NOT, not performed on trans youth. Late Wednesday, 16th of July, medical practitioners found in violation of the bill could face a $50,000 fine and up to 15 years in prison. The bill also forbids public funds from being used for trans care for under 21s. Minors have not yet reached the necessary emotional, cognitive, and physical maturity, are particularly vulnerable to making decisions that can have irreversible irreversible consequences. Well, first of all, you know, to the sheer chagrin to germs, turfs who can't comprehend basic fucking language, children can consent per the Gillick competency framework. Now again, I've also said this before. It's a case by case basis, right? As it always has been. Children can consent. They can, as long as, again, per the Gillick competency framework, I highly suggest you check it out. Um, like I said a minute ago, it's a case by case basis. Child A will another example. Child A would have developed, would have become more mature, etc. You know, like for example, like their emotional, cognitive, and physical maturity than child B. Which, but that is why they go through years of psychotherapy, psychologists to make sure that they understand everything. Now, again, back to my earlier point, they may not have the language. Going back to gender identity, they may not have the language, and they may not be able to form that language into words, but they still have the right to you know be who they are, and they still have the right to consent to medication. Because surgery that does not happen until 18 plus, right? So that's that. Also, what's funny is when they bring up regret rate, the bigger knee surgery. Wait, let me just quickly to make sure that I'm correct. Here it is. A study by Medical Accident Group found that 65% of people who had cosmetic surgery regretted it. According to the study, this includes various procedures, with 83% of those surveyed stating they wouldn't consider having any form of cosmetic surgery again. So again, let me read that out again. A study by Medical Accident Group found that 65%, again 65%, of people who had cosmetic surgery regretted it. According to the study, this includes various procedures, with 83% of those surveyed stating they wouldn't consider having any form of cosmetic surgery again. So whenever germ surfs bring up the transition rate, the transition rate, just give them that, what I've just read, right, and see what they say. Because it always amazes me that the transition rate, regret rate, is even lower than what they purport is. But that's that on cosmetic surgery. So under Puerto Rican law, legal adulthood, known as the age of majority, begins at 21, meaning the law is one of the most restrictive of any U.S. state or territory. Puerto Rico trans care ban cruel and inhumane. In a statement on Thursday, Puerto Rico's LGBTQ plus Federation heavily criticized the law's passage, with its director, Justin Jesus Santiago, vowing to challenge its provisions. Let there be no doubt, we will go to court to challenge the constitutionality constitutionality of the governor's cruel and inhumane signing of a law that criminalizes health professionals for caring for trans minors. Several Puerto Rico institutions, representing a variety of medical practitioners, have also urged the governor to veto the trans healthcare bill, according to CBS News. Over half a dozen U.S. states have introduced bans on gender-affirming care for trans youth, with many banning medical provisions for under-19s. According to the human rights campaign AHRC, 40.1% of trans youth in the U.S. aged 13 to 17 are living in states that passed that have passed laws banning gender-affirming care, including in two states, Arkansas and Montana, where the laws are on hold or have been blocked through court orders. Gender-affirming care is age-appropriate care that is medically necessary for the well-being of many transgender, non-binary, and gender-expansive people who experience symptoms of gender dysphoria, which, if you didn't know, cis people, i.e. straight people, can also suffer from gender dysphoria. So it's not just trans people. By preventing doctors from providing this care or threatening to take children away from parents who support their child in their transition, these bills prevent transgender, non-binary, and gender-expansive youth from accessing medically necessary safe healthcare backed by decades of research and supported by every major medical association representing over 1.3 million US doctors. So, there you have it. Right in Sorry about that. I have the women's Euro on TV, England v Italy. So if I'm turning, I'm just looking. So again, you know, banning healthcare, because again, I want to make this very clear. They wouldn't ban healthcare if cis children needed urgent medical care. They wouldn't, and they haven't. Cis kids, right, as they should, right, because a child, regardless of their sex or or how they identify, they should access vital healthcare, no matter what. But you don't see them. But you don't see them banning healthcare for cis children. You don't see them banning puberty blockers for cis children. But they want to ban it for trans kids who use puberty blockers in the same way as cis kids do, but they don't want that. But for cis kids, it's fine. That logic from a germ, i.e., turf, makes no fucking sense whatsoever. It makes zero sense. Right? But here you have it. You have Donald Trump doing what he thinks people want, which they don't. You know, and I don't know. I mean, let me know what you think. Thanks to the one person who's joined the live. Um, I hope you're well. Um, if you've been listening, let us know what you think. Let us know your thoughts. Even if we disagree, I still want to hear your thoughts. Um, so yeah, it's like all of this, all of this stuff is just another what you know. We are not the only podcast. We are not the only LGBTQ plus podcast out there. You know, so I'm sure they cover the same stuff we cover, or maybe not. But all of this is important. But I do sometimes think to myself, this world and this, hey mischief, how are you doing? Hope you had a good day. Um, it's like, yeah, this whole thing, with Puerto Rico, the US, the our government being a total dick, turning their back on vulnerable children that they claim to care about. What? Oh man, that is fucking sad. Oh man, that that fucking sucks. Well, that has sla- it's not that hasn't dampened my mood, but it's a shock. I'll tell you that now. Well, wow. My condolences go out to his family, of course. Um, and hopefully, and hope that everyone respects their privacy at this time. Um, oh man, I mean, um, this is going to be respectful, but also at the same time, I mean, I mean, Ozzy has even has he Ozzy has even said this himself. Um, Ozzy had a feeling that that he wasn't going to live much longer because I remember him saying because I in a video with his wife Sharon, Kelly and Jack that I think it was when they were doing the podcast on the Oddbournes that I remember Ozzy saying that he's probably only got like 5 years left to live or something. Um, yeah, exactly, mischief. It wasn't unexpected, but it's still a shock. Exactly. but it's even more, it's even more chilling if you think of it from the perspective of Ozzy. Basically, said he didn't have long to live. Um, and man, um, yeah, that is a shock. Yeah, but as I say, um, I hope people respect their privacy at this time. I'm sure there are going to be assholes. You know, there always is. But I hope they. But again, I hope that the vast majority of Ozzy Osbourne fans give them privacy. It believed went to Switzerland for assisted dying. Uh, right. I'm not saying I'm not saying you're lying, Miss G, but I just want to but I just want to double check. I'm reading. I'm on the Metro. This article is from an hour ago. Um, the music legend's family, including wife Sharon Osbourne, confirmed the news in a statement earlier today, sharing that he died this morning. The message read, "It is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. Um, Ozzy's cause of death has yet to be confirmed, but he had been open about his devastating battle with Parkinson's over the last few years. Um, yeah, the thing I could be totally wrong. In saying this, but having watched the Osbournes and been a fan of Ozzy Osbourne's music, he doesn't seem like the type of guy who would go for the assisted dying route. Again, I could be totally wrong in that statement, but he doesn't seem like the type that would bow out like that. But again, we will never know, and nor should we. If I'm being honest, we shouldn't know the details of anyone who unfortunately passed away. You know, the only exception to that would be if it is in the public interest, meaning it's mental health related, suicidal ideation, all of that. Right? Unless the public needs to know, then yes. But if we don't, then we should. I'm saying we, the public, should respect, the family's decision to keep private. Because you know, I mean that's just me. You may disagree, mischief, but I don't need. Me personally, I don't need to know. You know everything about someone's passing if I don't need to. No, but yeah, I mean, they were in the middle, and they were in the middle of moving to the UK as well. Um, yeah, I know that. Yeah, yeah, I know they have talked about it, mischief, but it's one thing having a conversation about something, right? But it's another thing to then go and do it, right? There's it's completely different, you know. It is completely different. It's like me and my friends have really have deep conversations, regardless of the subject matter. We have deep conversations. Now, we may say in jest, and I have dark humor. That's how I deal with trauma and all of that. You know, um, so I may say something that I'll do this or I'll do that. Relating to something I'm not gonna mention, right? But again, it's one thing saying it, but going through with it is completely different. So yeah, I have heard them talking about it, but again, we don't know. And again, I don't want to know because uh, because and there's a major reason for that. I don't need to know. I'm not a part of his family. The only people who need to know, if they wish to know how he passed, are his family, his friends, and that's it. Right? Now again, mischief. I could be totally wrong. I could be totally wrong in that. Right? But again, you know, just me. You know, it's like that. It's like that saying: "Do as I say, not as I do." Right? If I tell you to do something, are you gonna do it? You know, as much pain, as much pain he was in, you know, he was still fighting. Right? So, and the amount of shit he went through. I'm not just talking the 5 surgeries he's had. I'm talking about everything he's been through. It was a miracle. It was a miracle that he stayed alive for as long as he did. So you know he's had a brilliant life. I mean, yeah, you don't want to see um, any one go, because he was only 76, wasn't he? He was only 76. That's still young, you know. But you know, but as I say, let the family, let the family grieve in private, you know. Um, and yeah, that's that's that on that. But oh, man, yeah, yeah. I might yep, madman Aussie till the end. Yep. Uh, I do like Sabbath, but Aussie on his own was phenomenal, phenomenal. Like Aussie was 10 times better on his own. Right, not only was he a success in Black Sabbath, um, before he got kicked out, um, and Ozzy Osbourne didn't have any faith in himself to go solo, but ever, you know, the you know the ever willing wife of Salmon, manager, she, Ozzy went solo, and he became an even greater artist than he was in Sabbath. So yeah, to answer that question, I like Sabbath, but I also equally more so like Ozzy on his own. So Ozzy solo better. So yeah, and so yeah, so I think I'm gonna binge watch Osborne's season 1 to 4 on YouTube. I um as a way to you know pay back. sorry if I keep turning, mischief. I've got the England v Italy women Euro game on, so I do. So if I keep turning, that's why. Um, yeah, it's like yeah, it's just a little. It's just a little something I can do, you know. But yeah, yeah, you know, it's. I don't want to. I don't want to. Sound all woo woo and all of that. But I don't know. Oh, I just had a funny feeling that something was gonna happen. You know, I don't know. A feeling just came over. You know, but yeah, and like I mean, and I'm sure you know Sharon will be very upset. And of course. But Sharon is a very tough lady, and you know, you know, she will get through this. Um, because like I said, they were actually in the process of moving back to the UK. Um, so she's probably not even thinking about that at the minute, obviously. So you know, she may stay in the UK. I mean, in the US to be closer to stay close to obviously her children, Jack and Kelly. Um, or when the time is right, when she feels when she and the rest of the family feel ready to get back to it, get back to the grind. Um, she'll probably she will more than likely make decisions then, you know. But I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah. But yeah, I mean, thank you for letting me know, though, Mischief. As much as it, you know, is sad, you know, I do really appreciate you telling me because otherwise I would have been none the wiser. So yeah, um, yeah, thank you for telling me. No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry, Mischief. Where's Max? She wasn't feeling very well, so Max will be back next week, along with Nerdy, because Nerdy is at her oldest birthday tonight. So a birthday is more important in the grand scheme of things than a podcast, you know. So yeah, but they will be back next week. So you know, join us. Mary who? Are you talking about the Mary 2 Mischief? Because if you are, then then I'm afraid then. Sorry, Mischief, but that's not gonna happen. Sorry, but I'm not having the Mary 2 because I already had the Mary 2 on the podcast, and it didn't go very well for her then. So sorry, but no, I won't be having her on. She likes me now. Who does she? Mary specifically likes me now, or does she like Max? Because the last time me and Mary had an interaction, um, she didn't exactly like me. So for clarification, Are you saying have you? So for clarification, did Mary actually say to you that she likes me now because I sorted out poor Vogler? Well, first of all, thank you, but second of all, I'm slightly shocked by that. If I'm being honest, because I always thought that Mary had a problem with me. But if you're saying that she no longer has a problem with me, then awesome. I'm not lying, but if she doesn't like me, then, you know, then maybe, and I say maybe, she likes you not entirely. Okay, whatever. Okay, whatever. It 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 seems to me that Mary needs to make up her mind because one minute she likes me, and the next minute she's she's having an absolute meltdown towards me. She just said she come and chat, but she thinks you tell her to go away. No mischief. I won't. No mischief. I won't tell her. I won't. Really. Well, then she needs to, act her age a bit more than because you know because I'm very blunt. I'm extremely blunt. I say what I think. I'm very outspoken. If I don't like you, if I don't like you, I can't hide it, right? I'm just telling you how I am, right? If I don't like you, I can't hide it. I've been nice to mischief. Like which is fine. You're probably having a conversation with Mary, whilst also what having a conversation with me. I'll just put it like this, right? I never had a problem with Mary, right? Not one. Oh, I am lovely, mischief, but I am also very very blunt in my delivery and how I say things. Like I might be lovely, but don't think for 1 minute that I'm not able to handle myself. But as I was saying, you know, I've never had a problem with Mary. Not one. Not one single problem with Mary. have I had issues with some things that she has said? Yeah, we're all allowed to have conversations, right? It's called being a human being. Just like her, just like Mary, I can utilize my free speech in whatever form I want, right? So again, to clarify, I have never had a problem with Mary, not one, right? So you know, maybe we got off on the wrong foot. Maybe both of us, maybe just as a hypothetical, maybe we both got the wrong end of the stick, perhaps, right? But Mary just needs to understand that she's not the only voice in the room that needs to be heard. Do people need to listen to Mary? Absolutely. Does everything Mary say I agree with? No. Does everything I say Mary to agree with? No. Guess what? That's called being a human being. Also, I don't give a fuck. You know, I don't have to. I don't have to. I do not have to agree with everything someone says. I'm like this with my friends in real life, right? If they say something, right, I could potentially, partly agree with it, but I won't fully agree with everything they've said, right? That's all I've done with Mary. I agree with some of the stuff she has said in our conversations, but I have never fully agreed with everything else. You know, maybe we are similar, right? But us being similar doesn't mean anything. Yeah, we may have similar mannerisms. We may have similar in the way of being uh, blunt. I swear like a sailor. Mary, maybe she does too. Maybe she doesn't. She doesn't. Right? Right. We don't have to agree. We don't have to always agree. Right? But pass this on to Mary and just tell her that I've never had a problem with her. Not one. Not once have I had a problem with her. Right? But just going off our previous interaction, she has been the one who has had a problem with me. Weirdly, she hasn't. Weirdly, when she came on for that on our podcast, you know, you know, she didn't have a problem with Max, right? But she had a problem with me, right? But this isn't playground stuff. and I haven't got the time nor the patience for it. So we will let bygones be bygones. Thank you, Mischief, but we will park it to one side and let's just move on. Okay? If Mary can be, cordial with me, can be cordial with me, I will be cordial with her. And right, who knows? We may get along. Like we may speak to each other every now and then. We might not, and that's totally fine. And that's all I'm going to say on that specific matter. Listen, Max is listen. Max is actually a nice person, right? Underneath all of that, underneath all of that chaos, she's actually a very nice person. You know, she really is. So, you know, don't be frightened of Max. You don't need to be frightened of her. You know, believe it or not, Mischief. Um, I can be just like Max, right? Believe it or not, you just the different, but the difference is you haven't seen that side of me yet, right? But it's like that yin and yang partnership duo kind of thing that we have gone on. So yeah, did you find anything about Paul Vogler? No, no. When you told me about that, um, on last week, um, I didn't find anything. I don't know if it's that Paul Vogler, the one we had on, or a different one. But I don't want to. But I'm not going to start throwing around accusations, or anything. So I might try and find out anything if I can. If you find out anything, Mischief, then do let me know, and I may bring it up on a upcoming live, just for a topic of discussion. But yeah, if you find anything, then let me know. I wonder if a nurse would get struck off for being transphobic. Well, you only have to look at the current climate for that answer, which would be yes. If you are purposefully and knowingly being transphobic, or because you have to work with one of your colleagues who happen to be a woman of the trans experience, and you knowingly end up being a transphobic bigot, then you absolutely deserve. Not that you should, not that any bigot, regardless of how severe they can be, no one should lose their job. No one. No one should lose, you know, their way, lose their job, lose a pay packet, right? So I'm just putting that out there. But if you, as I say, if you are being transphobic and you've done it more than one, and you've done it more than once, you've done it for like 3 months, 6 months, and you are purposefully being transphobic, then you deserve to be be punished in some form. Now, if you happen to lose your job because you disobey the rules, then that's on you. Be be man be a man be man to colleagues are bad. Be mean to patient or horrid. Yeah, yeah. I know what you meant, mischief. Yeah, both of them are bad, are just as bad. In my opinion. Are you going to join Amethysta's live again at 10:30? Oh, that's not good. Yeah, I'll try and pop on at 10:30 myself. In fact, in in fact, I wonder if um Amethysta would have me on, as a guest. Uh, oh, um that would be thanks, mischief. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Uh, if not tonight, because it might be too much of a late notice. But I'd love to join next week's live. But yeah, oh nice. I used to use Discord, but then I don't know. I just you see. I think Discord. I think it's a brilliant platform. Um, if you know how to use it and you know how to set it up properly to get the best out of it. I never did, so I stopped using it. Um, excuse me. Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah. I even um when I listen, even when she had Star on, because obviously Star is releasing a book in August, so I went on Audible. Awesome, because I don't just have Audible. I have um. Let me know if you know what these are, Mischief. But this is a this no longer this magazine no longer continues. But this is a free mental health magazine called Recover. No, it's Recover. It was a free mental health magazine that my friend did. Um, but it sadly lost funding. But this was a magazine that I used to write articles for on a voluntary basis. So that's Recover. Um, so that's that. It's like I do have, like I have, it's um, rational emotive behavior therapy, a therapist's guide, Albert Ellis. PhD. So that who'd have thought I'd be so who'd have thought I would be showing off my books that I have. This one is called Carl Rogers Client Centered Therapy. Carl Rogers again on becoming a person, a therapist's view of psychotherapy. Um, Sean Fay, the transgender issue. I have Jane Doe, How I Survived R. Kelly, Lisette Martinez. Um, Dr. Julie Smith, why has nobody told me this before? No, Sean. Fe- no, it's not new. Um, Let me have a look. No, Sean Fay, the transgender issue came out in 2021. So it's been out for a while. So that's that. Um, might as well show you. Might as well go through my whole book, all of the books I've got. Um, this was edited by Laura Kate Dale, Gender Euphoria. Um, Pixie Pixie Turner, Food Therapy. Right, here I've got right. This is poetry. Right, Isabel Askew, Beyond the Darkness, the Heartbreak, the Healing, the Finding of Light. That one. Then I've got Moles Marie, the Sign of Melody. Melody. These are poetry. Um, this one is by Claire Beasley, Waiting for the Winds to Change. Sorry about that. There you go. There. Right, so let me put these back and then I'll show you my other ones that I have because this has turned into showing me what books you have. That's that. Then I have, because I uh love a bit of a cult, because I love history. Um, Abraxas Aletheia, the Baphomet of Eliphas Levi. So you know, you know, the most misunderstood symbol in the history of occultism. So that's that. I have Dr. Emma Svanberg, Parenting for Humans: How to Parent the Child You Have as the Person You Are. This book is primarily for is geared towards parents, but anyone can read this book. Um, I've got Don't judge me. I've got Ollie London's book Gender Madness. It was for a review. To absolutely tear into his bullshit, you know, bullshit, book. So that's why I've got that. I've got it. And then the final two books I have, I'll show you the. This is yeah. This is Tim Spector, Food for Life, and this one, which I've still yet to read. This one is by Samantha Shannon, A Day of Fallen Night. So those are the books I have on my mini desk. The so no, no one scored. Um, it's still 1-0 to Italy. Um, if that's what you were referring to, mischief. Right. So that that and whilst I'm here, I might as well show you this. they can do. The thing is, they can take a load of space, but what I do is I keep out the ones I keep out the ones that I know for a fact that I'm going to read, and the ones that and the ones that I've either read or I've either read them or they're books that I no longer want or are interested in. I put them away. That way, then I don't mean literally chuck them away. Put them somewhere like in their own designated area, you know. Or if you don't want to chuck them away, go down to your local um, charity shop and take them down there, you know. Um, but yeah, this next thing I'm going to show you is this is by Ravine Phelan, Dreams of Gaia Tarot. So this is the manual, the the booklet. Oh, that's a shame. Uh, um, you can always you, if you have a library near you, you can always you know see if your library will take them if libraries can do that. Take you know taking books and add them to their stock. You do tarot, do you? Yeah, tarot isn't for everyone. Um, I'm only going to show you a few. So, block. If I do that, you'll be able to see. This one is that's the choice card. This one is. Let me get the right thing. There you go. So you can see it. This one is the child. The maiden. Yeah, they are cool. I don't always bring them out because again, not everyone is into tarot. Um, this one is called the youth, that one is called the mother. This one is called the father. The crone. The sage. This is the death slash rebirth. This is the knowledge card. Wisdom. Awesome. This one is called healing. Love card. Union. Oh fuck it, I'll do all of them. Self. Abundance. Abundance. Destiny. Journey. Thought. Emotions. Desire. Perception. Um, this one is called intuition. Been into cards a long time. Um, not necessarily. No. Um, I'm more. I'm obviously. No, I mean, if in my family history, I come from like religious Irish background. Um, but I lean more spiritual. Um, it's only in recent times that I've got into tarot. I haven't actually used these for a reading or anything like that. Who knows? I might do one, I might not. It depends. Um, integrity, faith. These are just the other cards. I'm sure that given that you probably do tarot readings, you will know. like I say again, you know, I just bought these because I loved how I loved the design. Are they cup scars? How do you mean? How do you mean mischief? Yeah, like I'll just quickly get through the rest. That that. Oh yeah. Um, that yeah. As I say, I am very new to this, so you know, so by all means, you know, give me any advice that you can. Oh, right. Let me just. Sorry, one of them fell down, so I had to pick them up. But let me just collect this pile. Keep them in order. Yeah, But car should like when learn to drive. Yeah, exactly. Masculine, feminine card. Lots of Jungian psychology. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm on, yeah. The hero, queen of fire, king of fire. Oh yeah, Carl Jung. Yeah, I studied about him when I was doing my psychology course. Emotion, intellect, the counselor, queen of water, king of water. Oh, absolutely. That's why I haven't done it yet. When I have, read the book, and I've done what I need to, then I will, perhaps do some readings. I may add it as a section on the podcast. Where I do a reading. Oh, awesome! No, we no, we only go live every Tuesday. I'm just saying that I could add it to. I could add when I'm ready. I could potentially add it as like another section into our life where I do like a Q&A or a poll saying do anyone do you want um a free tarot reading? Like again, this will be more than likely in the future. But yeah, um, she was going on about bees that talk to each other by doing a little dance. Oh, awesome! Oh yeah, there's a lot more to tarot cards and tarot reading than a lot of people think. It's not just you know something that you just rip out. She couldn't remember name of a Russian philosopher, so I said Ivan Kolov. Right, I'm gonna read. I'm not gonna read all of them. Let me know if any of these ring a bell. Uh, Vladimir Sergeyevich Zlovyov, Ivan Ilyin, Nikolai Fedorovich Fedorov, Nikolai Chernysevsky, Nikolai Losky, Semyon Frank, Nikolai Berdyev, Viktor Bazulin, Joseph Plekhanov, Vasily Rozanov, Mikhail Bakunin, Pyotr Chadyev, Mikhail Bakhtin, Peter Kropotkin, Konstantin Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, Leonid Guinin, Nikolai Danilevsky, Vladimir Lenin, and there's more and more. But yeah, oh, that's fair. That's fair. Have I seen Amethysta's pie face video? No, but now that you mentioned it, I'll go look. I'll go look for it. But yeah, um, but yeah, uh, you've seen all of my books that I have. Um, I do also have Audible as well. So I'll go to so these are the audio books that I have. I have Unmasking Lucy Letby by Jonathan Kofi and Judith Moritz. I have the audio book of Gender Madness. I have the T in LGBT by Jamie Rings, aka Jammy Dodger, on YouTube. I also have some books that I'm listening to review on a podcast, like The Abolition of Sex by Kara Dansky. That's one. I listened to. Yes, we've just we've just scored. Um, I recently listened to Dylan Mulvaney, Paper Doll. Yeah, I do. I listened to it. It's very informative. You should check it out. Um, Another one that I have Less Than Zero by Bret Easton Ellis. I have another book that I'm listening to review called Lost in Translation by Miriam Grossman. Sees a turf. 1-1. Ajamang just scored. Um, I have The Future Loves You by Dr. Ariel Selesniko Johnston. I also have one book by Chuck Palahniuk, Invisible Monsters, that I've still yet to finish. And I've got The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. So yeah, those are my current. Oh yeah, and of course I have. And when Amethysta interviewed Star Vartan, I went on Audible, and I have, again, if you can, I have I bought I pre-ordered Star Vartan's the Stronger Sex on Audible, so I've got that to listen to when that releases on August 7th. I've got one pre-order, and that's Star Vartan's book, The Stronger Sex. There, you can just see it there. There you go. There. Yeah, I know. So yeah, that's the only pre-order I've got. Are there? Well, I'm sure Amethysta and Mary don't always agree. You know, and I'm sure Amethysta tells Mary when she is wrong. You know. Same to you. Um. Yeah. Yeah, that was the first time me seeing Matt as well. Yeah, yeah, he did. No, this is a Minecraft um cup. My left palm on my right palm because I've got both of my palms done. It's a bat. No, it's not. It's a cat with wings. It was a Halloween. I got it for Halloween, and this one, yeah, and this one is to do with mental health and abuse. That's what that one is. Um, so yeah, yeah. Uh, didn't hurt. Probably a one, if that. But I know for some people, um, yeah, it is. But I know for some people, palms can be really painful. So it just depends. Um, yeah, I've got that's a Sacred Heart there. Um, I've got well, I've got a tattoo here. There, basically, I'm not covered, but I've got enough tattoos. I'll put it like that. Right, I think I'm gonna call it there because I want to have a bit of a break. Watch the rest of the match instead of having me twisting back and forth. And did you follow me on Twitter slash? Well, I wouldn't say I've got enough because I still want more. But I've got more than 10. Um, do you did you follow me on X, Twitter, mischief? I only use Discord. Right. Um, because right. Uh, yeah, and yeah, I'll be there at 10:30. Um, and you can let and maybe Amethysta can let me know if she'd like me to. If then Amethysta could probably tell me or let me know, should I say, about me, potentially coming on as a guest. Excuse me. But yeah, excuse me. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. And um, Thanks to everyone for joining. Sorry, it was only me again. But as of next week, all three of us will. Well, why am I saying all three of us? All of us will be back together again next Tuesday. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure we're gonna go over some things to get Max and Nerdy's perspective on things. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Um. Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you, Miss Chief. Yeah. So I'll see you later. And for everyone watching, again, like in the beginning, if you enjoy this, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell, even share it amongst your friends or whatever. And yeah, we will see you next week. Bye, everyone. Let me end the stream. End it.